Roughly half a year after Aspyr ported KOTOR 1 to the Switch, we can finally play Knights of the Old Republic 2 on the portable platform too. Originally developed by Obsidian Entertainment back in 2004, this game had a shockingly quick development cycle back in the day, and as a result was infamously buggy, but it was still widely considered to be an amazing RPG. So now that it's been remastered for Nintendo Switch, with an improved resolution, widescreen support, and promises a restored content patch down the line that adds a cut planet and remove dialogue, how does it hold up after all these years? Does it feel dated in modern times, and is it still buggy? Well, that's what I'm here to answer in GameXplain's review of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 on the Nintendo Switch. And let's cut right to the chase. KOTOR 2 is an absolute triumph of an RPG. When it works. Because I encountered a game-breaking bug about 22 hours into the game that consistently crashed my game after a specific cutscene. And I haven't been able to progress past this without reverting to an earlier save and losing hours of progress, and I'm not even sure if that would have resolved this issue. The most frustrating part about this glitch is that I absolutely adored every second of the game up to that point, and I couldn't wait to watch the story unravel, but the game just didn't let me. As one who had only played the first game before, the story hooked me straight away with a gripping tale about a Jedi who's been exiled for going against the Council's wish. I was blown away by the amount of intrigue created in the opening few hours. Why was I exiled? How do I regain my connection with the Force? And that's not to mention the intricate backstories of the many companions. It builds upon the previous title with callbacks to areas and characters from the first game, so I implore you to play that before you dive into the second. The game does a pretty good job at hinting towards the events of the first game, so you won't be completely lost, but you will get so much more out of it from playing the first one. Morality systems are a staple of RPGs, and there's no better black and white system than that of the struggle between the Jedi and the Sith. I always play a good character, but throughout the story I found myself making some bad choices that led me down a dark path. It's rare a game's choices sway me from the straight and narrow good path, but I certainly killed more people than was necessary. There are so many memorable story moments that you can directly influence in the first 20 hours of the game. I'll keep it as vague as possible, but you can side with different factions during a civil war, and there are so many other choices, but I'd rather leave them for you to discover. The consequences of these can sometimes unfold 5 or 10 hours after you made the decision, and at that point your decision is final. All this is reinforced by the fantastic characters, which are bolstered by some great voice acting.
Also in private, we will be mercifully free from the opinions of imbeciles and fools.
Look, not like I care or anything, but you might want to go check on our passenger, especially with that hand of hers.
The constant back and forth between your party members and the consequences of siding with one over the other are ever present. There were some seriously difficult choices where I wanted to please a certain party member, but I simply couldn't side with their actions. I found myself going out of my way to speak to every character once I boarded the hub ship, the Ebon Hawk. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for most of the gameplay. The lack of quest markers when exploring meant I spent a lot of time running around like a headless chicken, which was aggravated by some of the areas looking very samey and started to annoy me over my 20 hours with the game. And then the combat feels incredibly dated, as you might expect for a 20-year-old game. All these old RPGs are based off Dungeons & Dragons, so everything is handled with a dice roll. And if you've played other RPGs of the era like Morrowind, then you know your character can miss a string of attacks all because of RNG. Even worse, it just doesn't feel great lacking any weight behind the combat, and it just makes your attacks feel weak. Thankfully, your party AI is pretty solid, besides the odd occasion where they would stop attacking or walk into mines, but otherwise it worked fine. I had Kreia set to Jedi support so she would keep the party topped up and buffed, and she did her job well. The game is at its best when you ignore the combat as much as possible and treat it as a narrative RPG though. While the combat isn't great, the progression system was engaging and I was having a blast building my party. I played as a Jedi Sentinel who had a nice mixture of lightsaber and Force skills. Since I was on the light side of the Force, I mostly used buffs and relied on melee combat. However, I couldn't resist a few dark side powers, which the game penalises you for with reduced damage for these attacks. The power trip of becoming a Jedi, or Sith if you want, was one of my favourite parts of the game. There's something special about a journey to regain connection to the Force and build a lightsaber that spoke to me. If it had a better combat system, then I would be singing its praises from the tallest building in Dublin. KOTOR 2 runs and looks great on the Switch. Well, as good as a nearly 20-year-old RPG can look these days. It looks sharp, now running at a higher resolution on widescreen. The UI also looks clean and crisp. In general, the game is a lot brighter, which some people might dislike, but the original was so dark at times that it was hard to see. Character models are of the era, and the environments are rather empty and unremarkable. The walking animation is stiff, and some attack animations look rather bland, but on the bright side, the lightsaber combat looks quite slick in comparison. However, the game did crash on me quite a few times. 14 times to be exact. And that's not including the game-breaking bug, which crashed my game easily 10 more times while I tried to navigate around it, which I wasn't able to. I can deal with random crashes, but a game-breaking bug is unacceptable. You might not experience it yourself, but I can't recommend the game right now on the chance that you might encounter it yourself. It's one thing wasting $15 on a game that breaks, but investing 20 hours of time into it only for your progress to be halted is another thing. Up until it happened, I was really enjoying the game. Yeah, the combat is dated and boring, but the story and characters are some of the best I have seen in an RPG. Add in plenty of choice and consequence and a fun progression system, and it's an RPG that I'd imagine most any fan will love. As long as they don't run into the same game-ending bug as I did, assuming it's even avoidable. We made the developers aware of the glitch and they are apparently trying to fix it. So until it's fixed, we're not awarding the game a final verdict, except to caution that you wait until the developer announces a fix or a workaround for it. There we have a review for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Are you going to take the plunge despite the bugs? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to check out the videos on the right, and you may as well subscribe while you're at it. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you all on the next video.